All right, so what we're looking at here is 2 tri-tips. These are really great cuts that I got down in Helotes, Texas. It's the Schatz meat market. They had a really nice selection of meats down there. So I'm just gonna trim these up like we do with any other piece of beef. I'm gonna try and get this silver skin off of here. Anything that's not edible. So I'm just gonna make a little tab here and then come right across. It's gonna have some ribboned fat in there. These are really great marbled fat. You can see the striations going through here, which is just gonna end up being a lot of flavor. So I'm taking off all this hard fat. Just gonna lay out there. I'm gonna leave most of this fat cap on here, but any of the really thick stuff I'm gonna take off. This sinewy type of material, I'm getting that out of there. Helps if you have a very sharp knife to do this. I haven't sharpened this knife in a little while, but it's still functioning really well. Some of the members of my family are not huge fat eaters, so I'm trying to take a little bit of this off of there. It'll still have plenty of flavor in it, but fat is flavor, so we're gonna leave that small cap on there. It's about maybe 1/8 of an inch there. This actually looks like a really nice cut of meat.
Yeah.
Not a lot of silver skin. That's ready to go. Take a look at that. Okay, so let's move on to number 2 here. And I did wash my hands before doing all this. And we're just getting down to where we can see those striations. We're not going too crazy. I don't want to take off a lot of meat from here. This is a perfect example right here. This is some silver skin. That's never okay to eat. That'll just be chewy, gross. So we're gonna take it right off. Same here. This tri-tip is beautiful, beautiful. And I'm not gonna go super crazy with this. I just wanna take off anything that would be undesirable to eat. Okay, now this is a really good example of where we have to do some cleanup. See all that shiny, sort of tough membrane material? That's exactly what it is. It's a membrane that the muscle is contained within that separates the different muscle groups. And that's what we're gonna try and get off of here because it is impossible to chew through and you don't have access to that meat to add your rub and your seasoning or whatever you're gonna be putting on it. So again, I just kind of make a little tab, see if it pulls away. If it does, great. If you need the knife for a little assistance, that's fine too. So we're just gonna take our time, just go along just like that. Try not to take off too much meat, but if you have to a little bit, it's better to clean it up than to leave it on there and have that silvery skin. This meat's still a little cold, so the fat is a little thicker, a little bit harder to cut through than normal if it were room temperature. Okay, we're gonna continue that. See this kind of old lady skin? We want to get that off there. We don't want to eat the old lady skin. It's like elephant knees. It's so gross. So we're gonna get rid of all that like this. Nobody wants to eat that. Nobody wants to eat that, right? I did cut into the fat cap a little bit too much there.
No.
It's okay. It's not gonna affect anything. You can get rid of this whole fat cap and it would still be fine. A lot of barbecue purists would be really upset to take off this whole fat cap, but we're cooking it for taste. I know that fat is taste, but you don't need that much. You need it to get to the meat, not necessarily the fat. Look at that. Okay, so continuing on. Here's a perfect example of why I've gone down this far. Underneath here, we have a really thick sinew, and I want to get rid of that because that would have been chewy underneath that fat. Okay, I'm gonna leave a little bit of that on there. This is actually really nice, but this is really bad silver skin, so we want to take that off. So this tri-tip, this comes from the sirloin, the bottom round underneath it, kind of where the back leg is of the cow, and it is called the tri-tip because it is a sirloin tip cut, but it's also triangular. It has 3 corners. 1, 2, 3. There's some more grandma left over here. Not your grandma.
No, she has flawless skin.
Let's call it grandpa skin then. And that is a beautiful tri-tip. And there's all kinds of ways to make this. If you want to leave the fat on there, go right ahead. Nothing wrong with that. All right, let's get some rub on here. So we're going to be using the Killer Hogs AP rub. It's a pretty amazing go-to for just about anything. It's salt, pepper, and garlic. You don't have to get this one. 1 part salt, 1/2 part garlic, and 1/4 part pepper. And with that combination, you can put on pretty much almost any piece of meat. I'm going to put these on not too liberally, but a pretty good light to medium coat. And then get all the different sides. So with that layer, I'm just going to let that rest for a little while. We're gonna try and get this meat to start sweating out a little bit. It's gonna draw moisture out to the outer part of the meat, and then we're gonna take it from there, put some more rub on it, some flavorings, and then we're gonna bring it out and cook it up on the grill. So we just have these new potatoes. They're the 3 different colors: regular yellow, the red potato, and then the brown potato, purple, whatever color it is. And we're gonna put these in to cold water and flop them right in. We are going to set this to boil, so I'm putting it on high, and we're gonna get this up to temp. Now what we wanna do, because I have about 3 pounds of potatoes in there, I'm gonna put about 1.5 cups of kosher salt. I know that sounds like a ton. This much salt, yeah. These are called Syracuse Salt Potatoes. Now the cool thing about it is, these potatoes have a skin on them, so they don't absorb much. So we're gonna wait for that to heat up, and all that salt is going to dissolve and disappear. That salt has pretty much dissolved. There's still a little bit on the bottom, and you can stir it around and take a look. It'll totally clear up here in a second. Now what's happening here, these are called Syracuse Salt Potatoes, really popular in upstate New York. Very popular. It's like the only place they make them. You put in so much salt because that salt is going to permeate into the potato and then absorb somewhat, not totally, into the potato because the skin is stopping it. We're cooking it for about 15 to 20 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and put 15 minutes on the clock here, and we're gonna check it in 15. If they're fork tender, then we'll strain them off. Do not rinse these once you take them off. They're going to come out shiny, you'll see, once they're rinsed, but when we let them air dry, they're going to become ashy looking. They're gonna look like there's a dusty coating on them, and that dusty coating is the salt. So we're gonna be putting 2 other rubs onto this meat. On one of them, we're going to be using the Steakhouse seasoning by Cattleman's Grill. This is an absolutely amazing do-it-all rub. I use it on everything. If I'm making 2 of something, I'll do something I know and something I'm experimenting with. So here in Helotes, Texas, we have a new barbecue place called Lone Star Barbecue Pro Shop, and the owners have this line of rub. I guess their last name is Crawford, and this is their line of rub. So I'm gonna be trying that on here today too. So we'll see what this is like. This is the burnt beef rub, and I'm excited to try it out. So let's put that on here. Just gonna do a nice coat. As you can see, that salt, pepper, garlic has really worked its way into the meat. Making it sweat a little bit. We're kind of running out of time, so I can't sweat it out completely, but I like where it's going. It's coming up to room temperature. Okay, I'm gonna put the Cattleman's Grill onto the other tri-tip. This one I absolutely love. On steaks, vegetables. I haven't really tried it on pork, but potatoes, it's really good on just about everything. And I load this one on pretty heavy. So, the coup de grace, the last piece to this puzzle, is the California Tri-Tip by Cattleman's Grill. I already know that this one pairs perfectly with the Cattleman's Grill Steakhouse seasoning. We're gonna see how it is. Adding a little crunch factor over the Crawfords today. So I'm putting this one on both Tri-Tips. I'm gonna sprinkle just a nice coating on. When it looks like it's done, if that makes any sense. Just getting a nice coverage. This one's more for the crunchiness. Now I'm gonna go back to getting these sides and the bottom. Flip it over. This is where we go to town. So we're gonna put that on there. Done with that one. Get that tri-tip seasoning. What a perfect name for it, right? And I'm getting all sides. And then the tri-tip. These are ready. These are ready to go on the grill now. We're gonna put it in there as soon as we get it up to temp, let's go check on the grill.
Okay.
We're going to check on the grill. Okay, so we're just about at 255, 260. So the beautiful thing about these tri-tips is, and you can roll on that way. Now here, I'm getting right into the middle of this meat right there. And you can see right now, we're showing it 50 dropping. So we want to bring this up to about 115 degrees. We got that pecan smoke rolling. We're staying between 225 and 275. As soon as it hits 115, we're going to take those off. We're going to give them a little bit of time on the side while we set up some direct heat and crank this sucker up to about 500 degrees. And then we're going to put some sear marks on it and bring it up to between 127 and 130 internal temperature. All right, let's go in and check on the potatoes. Okay, so we've got about between 6 and 10 minutes left boiling these. If you notice, the potatoes are starting to float. That buoyancy happens really fast with all of the salt. And you can see all the deposits that are gathering around here. It's a bit of a mess to clean up, but we'll worry about that when they're done because they're going to be delicious. Okay, I'm gonna start the squash now. And I've got these yellow squash, these zucchini, and then I'm just using one shallot just for some flavor. I'm just gonna do a fine dice on the shallot. And this doesn't have to be perfect. These are just sort of flavor enhancer. I'm gonna get rid of both ends of the squash and the zucchinis. Just gonna cut them into discs. Now I want to get some that are similar size, have them. I think squash gets a bad rap because people don't cook it correctly. And I did it the wrong way.
Yeah,
I suck so bad. It's okay. It's, you know what that is? Variety.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just getting some butter. I'm going to cook up these vegetables, adding some extra virgin olive oil to a nice hot pan, putting the butter in there, melting it down. Now you don't want the butter to burn. Don't let it brown up. I'm just going to mix it around a little bit, add a little bit more olive oil, bring that butter down. I'm even going to take it off the heat just so that it doesn't burn because we're cooking at such a high temperature. Okay, now it's back on the heat. We're adding the squash. We're trying to blister it up. A lot of times when you're cooking squash, it's going to get very limp and kind of slimy. If you cook it at a very high temperature, that won't happen. It'll blister up a little bit on the outside. Now we'll just let it sit for a little bit and get that tiny bit of blistering going. Now we're adding the shallots. And we're just going to give it a little mix. Keep it on the heat for just a bit. Try and blister up the other side. You can see how much heat's coming off of there. Now I did add a little bit of salt and pepper towards the end. I know I didn't show that in the video. But here I'm actually going to season it with that salt and pepper. It doesn't really require too much more than that. And this is a really, really nice side dish. Just trying it out for consistency. Still got a little snap to it. It's not slimy. Here comes the salt and pepper. Add as much as you think you should put in here and try it out. Taste another bit of it. If it needs more, add more. Just don't add too much and you should be good to go. Okay, we'll give it a mix and this side dish should be done. You want to cook this pretty close to when you're going to be eating. You want to keep it nice and warm. You don't want this to cool off too much, so cook this almost last.
So we're at just about 109 degrees right now. I want to bring it up to 115 to 120. I like a medium rare, but in my family, some people like it a little bit more done, more towards medium. I'm going to start searing at 115 to 120. But let's take a good look at what we have going on in here. Our temperature got pretty high. So that's really done there. This one might be It's time to take off, okay? That's why you check. They're both ready to take off.
Woo.
So we're taking the probe out now. Set them off to the side for a minute. So I'm removing the heat deflector. Careful, that's very hot. And I'm getting this going for a direct sear. Now we're bringing this sucker up to about 500 degrees, and I want to put these grill grates in here so I can get a good sear on them. So I'm cranking this wide open, and I'm cranking the top wide open as well. We're gonna get that chimney humming, and then we're gonna throw those on there for a good sear.
Spider, no!
So we're at 500 degrees. Burp it so we don't get a flash. But we are roasting really hot right now, and we're gonna do both of these at the same time. I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna do one right here. And I'm really trying to rock them back and forth to get good coverage on these. I want a good sear. Now this one's done, so I'm leaving it open for that one. I'm giving it about a minute of sear on this one. Let's do a rotation. Doing a 90-degree rotation. Okay, so we're gonna do a flip on these. It's getting pretty hot. Ooh, lost it. I'm gonna let that one go a little bit longer. Now don't do this with bare hands, obviously. I have these little cotton inserts and then some nitrile gloves over the top. Not the best ones I've ever used. I'm not a big fan of these. I'm gonna get some new ones soon. There's been a shortage since all the virus stuff started, so I'll let those continue for another minute or so. Okay, it's been about another minute. Get over now. Yeah, this one's ready to come off. That one's a little overdone. I want to take them off at 130. This is at 137. Boop. Needs to get rotated. Okay, so we are looking for between 127 and 130. Oh, a little over. Not good. Let's check right in the middle. Yeah. Okay. Yep, a little bit longer. The end is, there we go. I must have just been a little shallow on that. So we're creeping on 600 now. I want to check it out. Every time you open this, it just gets hotter and hotter. We're almost there. Yeah. It's looking really nice. Almost there. That's looking real nice. That's coming off. Got some good char. We are ready to rock and roll. All right, let's shut this sucker down. Get it ready for our steaks tomorrow. I'm gonna do a quick little eggy doing on these. And just a nice little tiny like 1 millimeter pieces. These are gonna go in the butter that we're gonna drizzle over the potatoes. How exciting does that sound? We'll see if that's enough. If it's not, we'll chop up some more. So for the potatoes, I'm going to be melting down this Kerrygold. This is the unsalted Kerrygold butter. And if you look inside this bowl here, you'll see that there are some delicious chives. And I'm actually going to melt down this whole stick.
Right in this bowl.
So I had it at room temperature. I just cut it in half and got it all in the bowl. Now I'm going to cover it just with a piece of paper towel and melt it down in the microwave. So you see we have this delicious chivy butter here, perfectly melted down. For that huge stick of butter, I did about 1 minute and monitored it, stirred it up a little bit, made sure it was going well. It smells delicious. Now we're gonna uncover our salt potatoes. Look at how dusty they look. They look like little mummies. Now there's a couple ways to eat this. One, you could take one of these and dredge it in butter. And look at the sheen on there. And just eat that. Or, so everyone can enjoy it, we can drizzle it on top. Or you can just pour. And we can mix those together. So we took these off at the perfect time. One of them is medium rare, the other one is medium, and that's how our family likes to eat it. The one that is medium has had a little bit more time to rest. So I'm just gonna take my brisket knife here. So the interesting thing about the tri-tip is you need to look for the grain, which way the grain is running. Here, it's going this way, but down here, it's running this way. Now there's a bunch of different thoughts on this where people will start going and then turn. I'm gonna cut it right across here. So that's a beautiful medium. Perfect. Now this one, I'm gonna start trimming little pieces off. Anywhere from 1/4 to 1/2 inch. You can see these right here. Beautiful little piece. It's got a nice char on it. That's really good. Ooh, this one's got a little zing to it, a little spice. This one is the Crawford's.
Really?
Yeah, it's got a little zip to it. I like it. Now we turn this one this way. These are going to be a little bit longer pieces. And this reminds me of just slicing the point of a brisket. Look at that. Just amazing. And that's all flavor. And this one is the one with the Cattleman's Grill. Let me try this. Oh my god. That is so good. Can you believe how juicy this is?
No.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
These are two different style briskets that are both equally delicious. Absolutely awesome. You can taste that salt, pepper, and garlic that was on there for a while before added the other rub. And you can taste that pecan smoke in there. It's really nice. All right, let's plate it up and eat.
This came out absolutely perfect, but I forgot one thing. We have to make the chimichurri sauce. So I'm just taking some curly parsley and I'm adding the whole head right into a food processor. I just cut off the stems, most of the stems. There's still a few in there. And I'm also going to add about 4 cloves of garlic, 4 whole cloves, and some dried oregano. I put about maybe a teaspoon to 2 teaspoons in there. Now I'm adding a 1/4 cup of red wine vinegar and some olive oil. Again, probably about a 1/4 cup to start it out. We just want to get this mixed down. I'm going to pulse it here and get the parsley pulsed down. Trying to incorporate everything, adding a little bit more olive oil just to get the mixture going. And some lemon juice, why not? So now I'm actually going to blend it up. I want a good immersion with all of this. So now I'm going to try it out, bring everything off the sides. It needed a little bit more olive oil, so I'm going to add that in there, and then I'm going to add some salt and pepper for taste. And then I'll just mix it up. And this is the perfect topping for that tri-tip. Just drizzle it over at the end when you're serving it, and it's absolutely delicious. Look at that. This meal was ridiculous, absolutely tremendous. I recommend making this. It came out perfect. Everyone loved it. Try it out.
Look at that. Just burnt all the hair on my arm.
No!